Hi there. This week's blog focuses on questionnaire design for a 360-degree feedback intervention. So let me start by clearing something up. It's the confusion between 360 and psychometric testing. The word psychometric is formed from the Greek words for mental and measurement. And psychometric tests attempt to objectively measure aspects of your mental ability or your personality. You are most likely to encounter psychometric testing as part of the recruitment or selection process. And occupational psychometric tests are designed to provide employers with a reliable method of selecting the most suitable job applicants or candidates for promotion. Psychometric tests aim to measure attributes like intelligence, aptitude, and personality, and they provide a potential employer with an insight into how well you work with other people, how well you handle stress, and whether you'll be able to cope with the intellectual demands of the job. And as a result, they should be statistically examined, then subsequently licensed for face validity and reliability. Now, does all that sound like a 360? No. 360-degree feedback, it's simply a survey of people's perceptions about an individual's behaviour, including that individual's self-perception. And in fact, it's often the contrast between the self-perception and the other people's perceptions that shows the individual where their development opportunities are. Now, by behaviour, we mean something that the person does or doesn't do, or something that they say or they don't say. So as such, it's something that can be observed. So what makes for a good 360 questionnaire? Number one, be clear on what it is that you want to measure and why. Be as specific as possible about what behaviours are involved and how you'll know if they're improving as you continue to measure them. Typically, each of your 360 questions will be a specific observable behaviour which describes what finish looks like. In other words, the statement is how you would like the person to behave if they were perfect. Now, if you already have a well-defined behavioural framework, this can become your 360 questionnaire. If you are using an existing competency framework or some kind of leadership standard or a set of values, the same applies, but only if the statements as described as specific observable behaviours, and only if they meet the criteria which comes next. So number two, be sparing with the number of behavioural competency headings and with a number of questions per group. Between 4 and 6 headings is ideal, and between 4 and 6 statements or questions per heading is great, which would give you 16 questions at one end and like 36 at the other. So why this number? Well, people are being asked to contribute time and effort to completing a 360 questionnaire, either on themselves or on a colleague, and this has to be seen as extra to their day job. They're busy already, so it's a huge gift that you're asking of them. Most of us are really time poor, so to complete even just 16 questions, just clicking on a button, it's still likely to take about a minute per question, and that's without any written comments. And that leads us to make an important point, because we think there's a popular misconception about the purpose of a 360 questionnaire. Too many of you believe that the value is in the report that comes out of the back end of the tool. So therefore, the more questions, the more information will be provided. However, in our experience, the real value of a 360 is in the conversations that it generates around the workplace, the breaking down of barriers, the growth, if you like, in the culture of feedback, and then the resultant development plan that ensues. Now, I really encourage you to explore the checking in processes that we talk about on the Click 360 website. So on that basis, when it comes to the number of questions in a 360, less is definitely more. Now, keep the questions simple. This is the third thing. Use a verb like thinks before acting. Keep it all positive. Just question one thing at a time. Think about the rule of 7. So that's 7 words max in a statement and 7 letters in each word. I know it's a bit idealistic, but you get my drift. And also keep the questions unambiguous. And choose a straightforward rating scale is the fourth thing. The best ones are based on frequency or agreement. So at one end of the scale you have always or strongly agree, and at the other you have never or strongly disagree. How many points on the scale? Well, popular opinion suggests that if you have an even number of points, you force people onto one side or the other, positive or negative. Whereas if you have an odd number of points, too many people will sit in the neutral middle. neither agree nor disagree. Consider the advantages of removing the midpoint in an even-numbered scale. Firstly, it forces people to choose. People may be more discriminating and more thoughtful, and it eliminates a possible misinterpretation of midpoint. By contrast, the disadvantages are it forces people to choose. And respondents, could become frustrated. You may not be collecting accurate responses. The truth is there is no right way. It comes down to personal choice. The good news is that with our Click 360 questionnaire, you can drag your cursor to anywhere on the Likert scale. You have in effect a 100-point scale. And the fifth and final point to make around 360 questionnaire design is invite free text comments to clarify and explain the ratings. In our experience, greater depth and clarity is afforded by having comments at the end of each behavioural heading or group. So one comment box asks for examples of things the participant does well in respect of that behaviour or competency, and the other asks for things the participant could do differently. Most of our implementations also invite a final page of open text comments. So right at the end, the headings are usually things the participant might stop doing, things the participant might start doing, and finally things the participant might continue doing. So this stop, start, continue approach, it allows the respondent to either reinforce ratings or comments already covered and or to make comments about something that lies outside of the questionnaire. Now, if you need help writing a bespoke questionnaire, or even if you just like us to check out something that you already have, please just email or call us. Thank you for watching.